Good day. Welcome to our channel, Totally Bible, where we discuss and learn scriptures or lessons from the Bible. For this month, our focus will be on the book of Psalms. So if you are excited like me to learn more, join me on this journey as we explore the Word together. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the Word. And this morning, our focus will be on Psalm chapters 1 to 3. So let's get into it. It reads thus. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, Let us break their bands asunder, and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, Thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. Lord, how are they increased that trouble me? Many are they that rise up against me. Many there be which say of my soul, There is no help for him in God. But thou, O Lord, art a shield for me, my glory and the lifter up of mine head. I cried unto the Lord with my voice, and he heard me out of his holy hill. I laid me down and slept. I awaked, for the Lord sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people that have set themselves against me round about. Arise, O Lord, save me, O my God, for thou hast smitten all mine enemies upon the cheekbone. Thou hast broken the teeth of the ungodly, Salvation belongeth unto the Lord. Thy blessing is upon thy people. And that ends the scripture reading for this morning, and that was Psalm chapters 1 to 3. And we're gonna just speak a little bit about what we have just read. And in Psalm chapter 1, it basically spake about the blessings that shall befall the righteous people, the godly, as the scripture said. In chapter 2, it says, his delight is in the law of the Lord. So the righteous man, he delights in God and the words of God. And because of that delight, it said that God will bless him. In verse 3, it says, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. So this verse is basically telling us that God will allow everything in your life to be fruitful as a righteous man of God. If you walk righteous, if you live a righteous and holy life, he will supply every single one of your needs. Everything you do, everything you touch will be successful. God will provide and he will lead you in the right path because he knows everything about you. The scripture said in chapter 1, it says, God knows, for the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. So this verse is basically telling us that God, he knows everything about us. Not only the righteous, but also the unrighteous. He knows about all of our ways. But the scripture said that the ways of the ungodly shall perish, which means that God will cause judgment upon the ungodly. So we all need to endeavor to live a righteous and holy life, avoid all evil and wrongdoing, and try to live a life that is pleasing, holy, and acceptable unto God. Let's jump now into chapter 2. And chapter 2 and chapters 3 are basically alluding to the life of David. So as a king, David faced a lot of oppression. He faced a lot of opposition, not only from the heathen, but he also faced opposition from his own children. We can all remember Absalom, who rebelled against him. And in chapter 2, verse 7 said, I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee. And verse 8, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. So this scripture is basically reassuring King David that everything that he requested of God, that God would have given it unto him, even the uttermost parts of the earth, meaning all the lands that his oppressors possessed. God would have allowed him to be victorious in battle against them and allowed him to possess their land. And in verse 11 it says, serve the Lord with fear and rejoice with trembling. And verse 12, blessed are all they that put their trust in him. So this scripture is basically reassuring us and telling us that we need to put our trust in God. In spite of all the oppositions that we face in this life, in spite of everything that is coming against us, once we put our trust and our hope in King Jesus, he is able to save us and to deliver us from all oppositions. Once we continue to trust in him, he will lead and direct us in the path that we need to go. He will protect us and be our shield and our butler in everything that we face in this life. And in chapter 3, I really love chapter 3. It says, Lord, how are they increased that trouble me? Many are they that rise up against me. But thou, O Lord, are a shield for me, my glory and the lifter up of mine head. And this is basically telling us that in spite of all oppositions, again, and I'm saying it again and again, in spite of all the oppositions, once we know where we are in God, once we know where our faith is, once we put our total, complete trust in God, He promises to be a shield for us. He promises to protect us over every battle, over every opposition that we face in this life. Verse 4, I cried unto the Lord with my voice. Yes, sometimes we have to cry out unto God. Sometimes the pressures, the oppositions are so much that all we have to do is to cry out to God. And when we cry out to God, God will hear us. Because God hears everything. We do not serve a dead God, but we serve a God who is alive. And once we open our mouth and we cry out to God, He will respond. Verse 6, I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people that have set themselves around me, that have set themselves against me round about. You know, sometimes when we are facing our situations and our problems in this life, sometimes we allow fear to overtake us. But that is not the right approach. We need to cast away all fear and doubt from our hearts and our minds as believers. Because the spirit of fear is not of God, but is from the devil. And so we should not be afraid of oppositions. We should not be afraid when we are faced with all our problems. No matter how big the problem is, we need to remember that God is bigger than all our problems. He is bigger than all the situations that we face in this life. And so if we put our trust in Him and if we allow Him to lead and direct us, then He will give us the solution to our problem, because God is a way maker. He is a problem solver. Therefore, He can solve any problem, no matter how big it is, no matter how impossible the thing may seem to you. Everything is possible with God. And the last verse says, salvation belongeth unto the Lord. Thy blessing is upon thy people. So I'm encouraging you today to continue to live for the Lord. Continue to live a life that is holy, pleasing, and acceptable unto God. Continue to trust in Him. Cast away all fear, doubt from your heart and your mind, and just continue to live for the Lord, because the Lord promises. He promises to supply all of your needs. He promises to be with you every step of the way. He promises to be a provider for us, even when everything seems hopeless. God promises to be with us each and every day. And this is such a great day to be reading this scripture, because this scripture is so encouraging to us as believers, that in spite of all the oppressions, people are facing so many oppressions out there, even to the point that sometimes we feel like giving up. But the scripture is reminding us this morning that in spite of all the oppressions, that we just have to take our focus from the problems and to put our focus on God, because God can solve any problem. God can solve all our problems once we continue to trust and to believe in Him. So let us continue to do that. Let us continue to live for the Lord, because God promises to be with us. God bless you today. And thank you for tuning in to our channel. Hopefully, this word was a blessing for you this morning. And if there's anything that you got from this lesson, just please remember that we need to put our trust in God. God bless you.